So I made it a point that I'll never miss a GP. Like that was a big blunder that I did in my internship year because I used to be so scared. It's a very tricky question because it used to give me a great deal of fear. I was losing sleep, losing weight, I was losing hair.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Dr. Nikhil and today I have a very special guest on the channel in a short series of interviews that I will be conducting. So the purpose of this interview series is actually to give all the viewers a view on how the different top rankers approach the exam and their studies and how everyone's strategies can be a little different. I hope this would give you an idea about the strategies that different people use and you can decide it for yourself. Today's guest on here is Dr. Tanvi.
Hi.
Hi, hello.
Hello everyone.
So just introduce yourself a little bit to the audience.
So my name is Dr. Tanvi Garg. Completed my MBBS from FPTMC College and Dr. R.N. Cooper Hospital. And I recently gave my NEET-PG exam and scored a rank of 1287.
How did you manage this score?
Well, to tell you the secret, I took a drop. Actually, our internship was very hectic and taxing, 14 hours a day, and I'm not cribbing. Some of my friends have actually cleared in the first attempt, but I could not, so I had to take a drop here. But I feel like all the hard work and whining around the year was worth it after getting the result.
Yeah, it indeed was completely worth it. Like today we are here sitting and we're able to just chit chat like this casually. It's completely unimaginable.
Yes.
So we did our internship together and honestly, we know how horrible it was at some points. So how was your overall experience in the internship? Like the general experience plus the preparation part of it.
So it was very different. Starting for 4 years for MBBS and suddenly getting into the field, it was very new, and physically as well as emotionally, to see the deaths for the very first time, to work for 12 hours, to not get sleep, to work on night shifts. Something that we haven't ever experienced in our lives. Merely being kids, we were told to do it for the very first time, so that was something truly unimaginable. So it took a lot of time to get into that zone. So for the first 3 months, I didn't even try to study.
And your first posting was casualty, right?
Oh yeah,
so
you remember?
That was pretty horrible.
Oh yes. So on the first day of my internship, I still remember, I saw a dead body. And I couldn't believe my eyes that I'm seeing a dead body outside of dissection hall. Right in front of me, a person who has passed away a few minutes ago, and everybody was okay about it. So it took a lot of time to be okay with it. So yeah, so casualty was pretty tough, both physically and emotionally. So after casualty, I had a couple of short postings as well, but I wasn't in the right headspace. So I took a couple of months more, and then I started studying just to start studying, just for the mere fact of starting.
Just to beat the perfectionism myth, right?
Maybe, and just because I was starting to get scared that NEET is about to come and I have done nothing. So I felt like I have to start from somewhere at least.
Right. So it's like not to wait until everything is perfect, right? Just to get begun with it.
Yeah. So I had to start from somewhere. So finally I started. Whenever I used to get free time, I used to read without the idea of doing MCQs or doing GTs or scoring initially.
Yeah.
No. Like for the, I guess, majority of internship.
Okay.
So what happened was I used to study, complete a subject, and then I used to move on to the next subject. And because of this, I never completed the whole course. So of course, my approach wasn't correct while doing internship.
Exactly.
Plus I was very tired all the time, and we all knew that we were going to lose our friends the next year. So I wasn't so focused as to clear NEET in the very first attempt.
So even though you weren't sure that you would clear it in the first attempt, still you began with it, right?
Of course, like you can't stop studying at all. You have to be in that zone all the time.
Exactly. The zone is the important
thing. The zone
here.
is important. Like you have to read at least 10 pages a day, 5 pages a day, discuss a topic with somebody, see that topic that you have seen in the words in your notes, from your dance notes, arrow notes, so you will feel like you have done a topic for NEET. So that was something that kept me going, and I don't think I scored that horrible in NEET 1.
No, it was not horrible.
So I guess it wasn't that horrible because I was studying.
What was your rank? I don't remember. The first.
I don't want to tell you.
Okay, alright.
It's all past now.
Yeah. So I really want to emphasize again on this particular point that getting started with it is important, even though you think that the result might not come, right? Like I had some of my friends who were like, "Arey, इस बार तो होने वाला नहीं ना, क्यों पढ़ रहा है?"
But then they have to struggle a lot during the prep year.
Right.
Whereas I was chilling most part of it.
Correct.
I was chilling and I was studying. So I didn't feel like I was studying or it was my prep year. It was like any other year. It was just that I was sitting at home. I was taking a walk. I was writing my blogs. I was doing everything.
You hear the people who clear NEET in 5 months or 6 months. That is also because they had studied earlier as well, right?
Of course, because if you see in my prep year, I have studied for 6 months only.
Right.
But that's not the case.
Yeah, that's so called 6
Because
months.
I have studied in my MBBS years, I've studied in my internship, and it has all cumulatively got the rank.
Yeah, so it all accumulates. It's not like it's just those 6 months and then you get the result. There's a lot of backstory behind it. We can call it like the metaphorical tip of the iceberg, right?
Very true. Yeah. So when I used to tell my friends or even you that I studied for like 4 hours a day, so you used to question, "Acha, ho gaya?" But it used to be like that was enough for me for the day because I had done pretty much earlier, so I didn't feel like giving 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day every day.
Correct.
For me, the motive was to revise this much part and get done with it.
And her motive was being cleared in 4 hours. I mean, although sometimes guilty feel hota hai.
Yeah, true.
So it's not like she did 4 hours and now you're like, "Arey, isne 4 hours karke kiya, to main bhi 4 hours."
Your speed can be faster, you can do it in 2, or your speed can be slower, you can do it in 6. It's completely on you. You have to keep a very stringent timetable and follow it, and your timetable should not be comparable to the other person. It's completely okay as long as I remember the subject.
Speaking of the timetable, let's talk about the strategy that you followed all throughout this period. So we'll actually begin from the post-internship phase, right? Because that was the main preparation phase. Correct. So we both have appeared for NEET and NICT as well. So can you just explain in brief your process from the beginning?
So many people started studying from June, but I was actually quite disappointed with my score from NEET-PG exam, and I wasn't in the right headspace as to what should I do next. Should I be okay with the rank and get any college, or should I take a drop? So firstly, I decided to clear my head for 1 month. So I stayed at home. Firstly, I shifted from hostel to my home. Like everybody was shifting out, so that was a big change. I got to talk to my parents. I talked to a lot of people. They imbibed in me that taking a drop is not the end of your life. So it's okay to take a drop, and that pushed me. And a lot of people told me that this is not what you are. You can do a lot better than that. So that pushed me. Yes, I can study a bit more. I can push myself a bit more. So in June, I decided to make a proper timetable. I started to make a very realistic timetable. I didn't aim for huge targets that I have to complete like 6 subjects in 1 month or 7 subjects in 1 month. I started a bit slow. I used to give 1 subject 1 week. So I used to read line by line, and the things that I hadn't done in my internship, I started doing that, solving Qbanks, giving GTs. So for the first 3 months, I made sure that whole of my course reading is complete. So that was like June, July and August per se. So after completing 1 reading, I decided to give myself a treat, and I went to live with my family. And after coming back, I decided to do 1 revision, and then came the month of October, a month of birthdays and festivals. So again, I took a bit of break. It was 2 weeks before INI. I started rapid revision. I had to revise everything that I had read, so that I could do only because of my concise notes.
Just to be clear, you didn't use ready-made rapid notes. You made your own?
Of course, I made my own. I can't read somebody else's notes. They don't feel personal. You have to write it in your own handwriting, so you know which point is where, and it's
a photographic memory.
Yeah, definitely. So I read that, and then I appeared for INI. Again, with no
real hopes.
Hopes that I would get it.
But with a little bit of expectation that maybe
a little expectation, but I appeared it like a GT. Only one aim was that I had to perform well.
Your best, like perform your
best. Yes, best enough that can showcase my hard work of last 5 months or 4 months. So when the result came, I was pretty happy about it. It wasn't going to get me the seat of my choice, which was okay. But from then on, I knew how to work for the next 3 months for NEET.
And yeah, in NICT actually we had scored decent ranks. Our ranks were close by. My rank was 1300, and we had nearby ranks as well, right?
Yeah, so we got a target like how to work from here on for the next 3 months. So in December.
So we didn't take this as a negative thing, like we.
Oh, not at all. That day when I saw my score, I was like, "What? Did I really just score that rank?" So I was pretty happy, although knowing that I won't get a seat, but at least to see where do I stand, it was a very realistic picture, and it gave me a great push that I was on the right track. So the results were out within a week or so, and then I gave myself another break. Sorry, I keep giving myself breaks. So in the month of November, again, I didn't study anything. I was roaming around. I met my friends. I took a deep breath. I resumed my exercise and everything.
Quite similar for me as well.
Oh, you came to Mumbai. Come on, tell everybody.
Yeah, of course. I came to Mumbai and I met my friends as well. I mentioned that in my NEET-PG journey video. So this was the trip that she's
talking about. And again, then we started studying. In December and Jan, I decided to complete complete the revision of all 19 subjects. In the month of Feb, again one revision, and in the last 1 week before NEET exam, so I kept revising thanks to the concise notes, thanks to a number of platforms tell you how to concise them, and that's how I kept adding some of the other info into my concise notes, so it was less than your actual notes, but it was more organized. If you want to know how did I make my concise notes, you can check one of his previous videos in which he has mentioned about concise notes.
Yeah, even her concise notes are mentioned there.
So you can get an idea how you can make it, and I used to pin those concise notes on my pin board. It's right behind.
Yeah.
So I used to keep like 5 or 6 notes on the board so that I can see it every day, and I used to keep changing those notes so that I can get a review of all the notes every day.
So talking about daily studies, how many hours did you study per day on average?
So again, I'll like to say that I used to stick to the timetable, and I used to keep very achievable targets. It never used to be like I have to complete 2 chapters or 4 chapters a day. It used to be like 1 chapter, 1 topic a day. On an average, it used to be not more than 3 or 4 hours a day. Really count.
Did the hours change a little bit in the last week of the exam or something?
Yeah, last week I can say, because I guess even anxiety helps in that,
right.
in that duration.
Yeah.
So you yourself feel like, giving your best, your very best shot, and you know that it's right here. Like, March 5th is, it's just 7 days
That
away.
final intensity.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I have to give it my all, and after 5th March I'll be free, I can do anything. So, but even if I was scrolling Instagram, I used to be like, I can do this, 1 week later, let's get on with it. And that kept me going, and I touched 8 or 9 hours a day. You shouldn't fixate so much on the hours per se. Like, you should, just finish your topics and get going with it. Yeah.
So apart from that, let's come to the sources. Many people have a question. Although I think that most of the sources out there are a little bit of the same, but what sources did you use?
I started using DAMs from, I guess, 3rd minor, and I stuck with them throughout the course. Like, I didn't change my source. The content is really good. The teachers are amazing. The topic gets cleared very easily, and the way they motivate, everything is amazing. But in prep year, I realized that the question bank is not good enough, so I bought a series of Marrow. So that's when I switched to Marrow. Not switched exactly.
You added it as a source.
Added it as a source for Sunday grand test.
Correct.
So I was getting questions from that app as well, and in their explanation, I could get a second point of view.
What do you think is the role of Qbanks and practice questions in the preparation apart from grand tests?
Okay, so Qbanks help you to revise what you have read already. So most of the apps what I have seen in Qbanks, they don't have the NEET questions or the INI questions.
Okay.
They just have questions related to the topic, so that they can help you revise what you have already read. And after that, you can give GP so that you get a broad idea about it.
So how did you approach Qbanks? Like, you read a topic and then gave it, or like
exactly.
what? How did
so say about medicine, okay?
Okay.
So it's not like I approached medicine Qbanks after studying the whole of medicine. In medicine, you have so many topics like cardio, respi, GI. So I used to read one topic and then approach it Qbank. Again, repeating that the questions in those Qbanks were not straight out of NEET or INI, but they were just helping me revise the topic that I have read already. And after completing whole of my subject, I used to give that subject-wise test. So subject-wise test used to have questions straight from the main exams, and that used to clear my whole subject.
That was a very good summary actually. That is exactly how it is. I wanted to say the same thing, but you put it in a much better way.
Thank you.
So it's like not important to score 100% in the Qbanks, right? Like many people stress out, I scored less in this Qbank.
They sometimes add such trivial information that is not even
required.
required.
Exactly. Like once I got the dimensions of tympanic memory, and actually that was a previous year question, but I think that was a very old question.
Exactly. Yeah. Old question or a very tangent question that has a very small chance of repeating in the next year. So you shouldn't fixate yourself on such questions. You should fixate yourself on the most common topics or the topics that will help you in real life diagnosis.
So we can say that the questions in which like 10% people got the answer right, you should worry so much about it.
Oh,
right?
definitely.
And that was about the individual Qbank performance, but is solving all Qbanks necessary?
Again, not at all. You should see Qbanks as a method of revising your own notes, but not at something that you have to complete.
Correct.
I'll suggest you should focus more on subject-wise tests because they help you revising in one go, and then focus on grand tests. So actually your target should be to never miss a grand test, but Qbanks you can skip here and there, at least in my opinion.
Correct, right. Actually even I didn't do all the Qbanks. I did around 490 something Qbanks, which is a little over. Yeah.
So many Qbanks you did. Oh my god.
That's many, yeah. Total were 800. Now, after Qbank, another important pillar of exam preparation is grant tests. So, how did you approach them? Firstly, what is the frequency of grant tests?
Okay, so I followed Marrow completely for grant test, and I used to approach as and when they used to put the grant test.
Correct.
So in that way, they have a very smart algorithm about it.
Yeah,
so
right.
in June you get 1 GT, in July you get 2,
One, yeah,
and then 4,
gradually
and following that pattern is actually amazing because closer to exam you get more GTs,
Yeah.
and you get it every weekend. So I made it a point that I'll never miss a GT. Like that was a big blunder that I did in my internship year because I used to be so scared that my revision is not complete, my 19 subjects are not complete, so I can't approach a grant test. But that was a very, very wrong method.
That's the wrong thing, yes. I would like to emphasize this a lot. I also emphasize it in some of my previous videos, including my grant test video, that just give your first grant test without thinking about your preparation level. That will act as a baseline, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't want to reveal my first grant test scores.
Oh, I'm going to reveal it. I'm going to put your screenshot.
Oh no. So in June or July, whenever I gave my first grant test, the scores were pretty low. And of course, I contacted you. And I had I was so embarrassed, like even after giving first NEET, even after studying for 2 or 3 months, I'm not getting scores. But it's about you don't have the practice of
Correct.
approaching the questions. It's not like you don't know the information. You know the information, you have read your notes, but approaching questions is entirely different.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, you taught me that. So
yeah, right.
So you pushed me that you have to keep going with every GT. So next GT I gave, so the marks increased by 2 questions, and again I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, right. I remember. Even
Yeah.
same for me as well.
And in next it dropped again. So I was about to give up, and then I gave my 4th or 5th GT, and I saw this taunts. So that was something,
This taunts thing, yeah, right.
So it gave me that push that okay, I'm going right. I just have to keep some patience. And the scores will eventually improve. You'll keep revising, keep approaching questions, and you'll see the results in your GT.
So what is important is that you don't let one GT define you, or even 2-3 GTs define
Oh,
you,
definitely.
because it's a
It
process.
takes time. It takes time to reach that level.
So I like to compare this to the stocks graph, because the stocks graph can have occasional dips, but if you zoom out, then the original thing is a rise.
And Marrow offers that graph, and you'll feel like, oh, what is happening? But when you see, like, I checked my graph in the month of March, and I could see the progress.
And on YouTube, many people actually upload their GT progress graph. So just observe it carefully. They had dips in the beginning, or at stagnation at least, right?
Stagnation, dips I've got again, when you take a break or something, when you reach that, that rut in life, that saturation. So you notice that dip, and it's such a reflection of what you're feeling. And when you give a GT in a good mood, then you feel confident, you can actually see it in your scores.
So how did you schedule your grant test? Like, when would you give the GT, when would you review it, and what was your process for that?
Okay, so like Sunday is Sunday for everybody, even for us. So I never used to, feel like studying 7 days a week. I wanted my breaks. So I used to make it a point to study Monday to Saturday. On Sunday morning, when my father and my sister also used to be at home, so I wasn't in that study zone. So I used to take those 3 hours, give a GT, and take rest of the day off.
So like that way you study even better the whole week, right? Knowing that you're going to get a break at the end of
it. Oh, definitely.
Maybe right. Because I always used to think that you're taking the whole day off. How can that would be harmful, right?
No, not at all. So I used to wait for every Sunday. It became a habit. One more reason for that was Marrow used to, give the answer key on Monday. Correct. So I used to remember questions more easily. Since Sunday
the gap is less.
The gap is less. So on Sunday I used to give the test, on Monday the results were out. And I used to spend my whole of my Monday in reviewing the GT.
That's also a pretty unique way of giving the GT, that is, give a GT on a Sunday and take the whole day off. I mean, I was a very intensivist type of a guy. I used to जानवरों की तरह काम करता था मैं 7 दिन in the week के, and hardly I used to have breaks. I mean, yeah, I used to take breaks, but not in a systematic manner like that. So sort of like, even take breaks systematically. You can say that, right?
Maybe, yeah.
You may not have thought it that way, but I think of it that way.
That's how I, wired myself, that, you have given 3.5 hours, you have sat that long, so now you deserve a day off.
Yeah, right. So how did you approach the review of the GT? What was your strategy behind that?
Okay, so in Marrow, they give you this subject-wise, and your best subject and your worst subject.
Yeah, right. I've covered that in the video.
If I can tell about your technique used to be to approach the wrong questions first. My technique used to be approach the right questions first, because it used to, set the tone for the day. I used to get very happy seeing that I got these many questions correct and this subject is the strongest.
So like instead of demotivating yourself by seeing the wrong questions,
Yeah.
you used to motivate yourself by seeing
So
the
I
right one.
used so many techniques to keep myself happy in the
Yeah.
prep year.
That was a little odd for me actually when she told me about that. But if that helps you stay on track and be happier, I think that's fine.
Say I used to get, full in ortho.
Correct.
And ortho weightage was like 6 questions. So
Ah.
I used to click on the ortho subjects, see my 6 questions, see that I have got all correct. If there is some information that is added in the question, I used to, read and get done with it. So it used to make the process a whole lot faster as opposed to you, I'm sorry, that you used to do the wrong questions first. So
it's fine.
It used to take a lot of time. And then you used to do the right questions very rapidly. So I used to do the other way round. So by the end of it, the lowest 4 or 5 subjects, I used to finish it up in 2.5 hours. So that used to be my approach.
Okay, right. So that's fine. Everyone has a different style.
Definitely.
In fact, the very purpose that I started this interview series is to give everyone a view of all the different styles that different people follow. So there's no correct or wrong style, I think.
Of course.
It's a personalized style for everyone.
I was just comparing your
Yeah.
style and mine,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
again, we both got the ranks.
So like she used this style and she got a better rank than me. Some people have used my own style and have gotten better ranks than me as well. So
Definitely.
there's lots of factors there, and you have to follow your own style. So that is the thing that I want to emphasize here with all these interviews. So often one more scene also used to be that like even the last few GTs, the score used to drop sometimes, right? Like at least with me, and I think with you too, it used to create an anxiety. Like, अरे यार इतना पढ़ा, फिर भी score उतना improve नहीं हुआ है.
Exactly.
So
yes.
what would be the deal in the final exam? So how did you deal with it?
It's a very tricky question because I never used to deal with it properly or correctly. It used to give me a great deal of fear as to what should I do next, what should be the next steps. But at the end of the day, I used to forget about it. Like I used to crib about that score for like 2 hours, 3 hours. What am I doing? Where am I going wrong? But at the end of the day, I used to keep my approach the way it has been.
The practical approach.
The practical approach and what I was following.
And like talk to other people, know that even their scores are a little low.
Oh, that used to help a lot. When your friends are in the same spot as you realize, okay, it's happening with everybody. Maybe the question paper was difficult, maybe something was off, and you will be okay the next week. So it's fine.
And even if one of your friends scored better, actually that should like motivate you, right? Okay, I'm studying with them, so I'm at their level. Maybe something went wrong in this particular test.
You scoring more than me has helped me so many times.
Yeah, right.
Because if he was scoring say 150 and I got 145 questions correct, so I used to wonder what were those 5 questions that even he could manage but I couldn't. So it used to keep me going that at least I have to get till here. And same for you as well, I guess.
Right. Many times she used to score more than me.
And then we used to review together and we used to find, oh, we had done such a silly mistake.
Right.
We both could have got at least 10 questions more. So reviewing together helped us a lot in knowing what are the silly mistakes, especially discussing with each other that he got that correct and I didn't. So it was a silly mistake on my part.
So yeah, even if someone even if your friend scores better than you, take that as a thinking point there. Right?
Definitely. So you get to know that normal people are getting it correct and you are not, since there's a scope for improvement.
So speaking about reviewing together, study partners ka concept is pretty important, right?
Yes.
So what are your opinions on it? Like how much did it help you?
So the viewers must have understood by now that you were my study partner. And it helped a great deal, so especially because when I compare to my internship phase, we didn't used to study together. We used to just, discuss what have you done, what have you done. But there was no practical approach. But in prep year, we made it a point to discuss every little thing. So it wasn't like both of the people have to study the same subject. It wasn't like that. It was about the approach. What he was doing, he used to tell me. What I was doing, I used to share. In that sense, you need to have a study partner with whom you can share complete transparency. You shouldn't, lie with your study partner.
Oh, absolutely.
That's very stupid idea.
Not someone who fakes their scores.
Yeah,
or
that's very toxic. So you have to if I am doing anatomy, I used to tell him I studied my dance notes. I referred pictures from here, added Qbanks from here, and I found this stuff and I found this easy. And in 1 week, I was done. He was finding anatomy maybe a little bit tough, but when he listened to my plan, he was able to do it. Same for me for other subjects, say OBGY. He had a complete plan. So it helped me to get, going on with it. Suppose there was a topic that I wasn't understanding and he had completed that topic last week. So it was so easy because he was teaching me, so he was getting a revision and I could study it much faster. So in that way, we kept on going. Same for the GT scores
For the GT
day.
scores.
So we used to give GTs. We used to discuss our scores. We used to cry together. Somebody would be getting a good score. Somebody would be getting a bad score. Then we used to review together. We used to see if both of us are scoring bad in some particular subject or if it's different. If it's different, then it's more important to see why it's different, where you are lagging, where he is lagging. And we kept that approach and we kept on going, and that helped us a lot. Like in the last week, I remember we both were scoring 160 plus questions.
Yeah, that was a good feeling.
It was a really good
Touch
feeling
wood.
because we started our GT scores with 120 plus questions. So from 120 to 160, it was like 40-45 questions jump. And we could see it with our own eyes. Also, talking about study partners, apart from the academics, it also helps a lot on the mental health front.
Right.
You have a person to talk to. You are not studying alone. You are not, when you are at home and preparing for the exam, it's a very tough year. You have just lost all your friends who were in college. Everybody is fighting for the same exam, same as you, and everybody can be a bit competitive. In that time, you need someone who doesn't feel like as if you are a competition. You both need to play the exam together.
It's synergistically sort of, right?
Synergistically,
a little bit of competition too.
A little bit,
yeah.
but it's not like I have
Toxic
I have to make sure that he doesn't get so that I get. That shouldn't be the goal. The ranks we have today, even he'll get a branch and I'll get a branch, and that's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the study partners don't have to follow the exact same schedule too, right? Like I used to study different subjects.
Definitely.
Yeah.
His timetable used to be entirely different. My timetable was entirely different. I am a very paper pen person. I have to write everything down. I am very bad at technology. He's very good at technology. He used to do everything on iPad along with the apps. Technically speaking, we were very different in our approaches, and still we used to study together and keep each other updated, and it used to help in the long run.
Absolutely, I just remembered those days and
yes.
it got that flashback. Yeah. So yeah, I use more tech and apps, but you also used one app called Forest, right? The Pomodoro app.
Yeah,
that was the one app she used.
It was very fun actually.
Yeah, in short, this app is that you set up a timer on it, and for every successful timer, it regrows on that.
It was very cute to see a little plant grow, and that's why I kept it using till the end so that I can manage.
So you just talked about mental health, and I think it is pretty important during the preparation too.
Oh, yeah.
So what are your thoughts on it? And also, is enjoyment possible during the prep?
You are asking enjoyment possible? I guess it superseded my prep.
Oh.
So you need a sane mind to study. That's all I can say. Like again, I keep mentioning anatomy because I guess that was my first subject, because I used to be really dreaded about it. So when I was done with anatomy, it felt like a huge relief off my shoulders. And on the very next minute, I thought, how will I revise it again? Because it used to be so scary. So you need to keep yourself pumped up all the time. So I used to have proper wind down sessions. Like I used to watch series and movies. I used to write blogs, go for walks, exercise, go out for lunches and dinners with my friends or family, gone on a family vacation, friends trip. So all of that was part of my routine. It wasn't like I was preparing so I have to shut myself in a hole. It was never like that.
No, that's actually not recommended, right?
Oh yes.
By the way, she's a writer. She has a great Instagram page which is very aesthetically arranged and has a lots of posts. So go check it out. I'll link it in the description.
Thank you so much.
So speaking about the mental state, what was your state one day before the exam? Because I remember that's a pretty heavy day. So what was your state one day before and even on the day of the exam?
Okay, so one day before, I mean, it's pretty obvious that you are scared. Your life sort of depends on it. Especially when you are a dropper, it feels more heavy. That, oh my god, you can't do it again. Come on, how can you? All of that thoughts are going in your head.
It's like a blend of maybe you might be confident about yourself at one moment, but then you have doubt at the next moment.
Because I knew that I have studied so much. How can I not ace an exam? But on the other hand, there were 2 lakh students who giving the exam. How can they not ace an exam? I remember asking you this question. How can I get a rank when others can't? I mean, I didn't get that idea. Everybody was studying, so they can also get a rank. So it took me so much time to calm myself down. I remember I studied for like 1 or 2 hours before the exam, and that was it. Like I have done this since my 10th boards. I never study one day before exam because somebody told me, one of my mentors, that you have to wind down yourself very properly. I remember it was my father's birthday and we went out for dinner also.
A day before the exam, right? Oh, right.
Yeah, so all of those activities were continuing in the background. I mean, they were not stopping for the sake of the exam. And obviously, I was very anxious. I was losing sleep, losing weight, I was losing hair. So all of that is undeniably there. But then you have to get out of it and busy yourself. And talking about the day of the exam, I reached the center and there were so many people just like me, ready to give the exam, praying to God that they get the seat. and so was I. So how will God listen to them and not me, and vice versa? And so many stupid thoughts were going in my head. But when the timer started, when the paper was there,
Yeah, all of it just vanished.
I don't know how, because
Yeah.
it felt like another GT. To
Right.
be really honest,
Right.
there were these simple questions that I had seen in my GTs throughout the year. I was like, oh, this easy. Are you sure you're asking me this? I'm not bragging, I'm sorry. But most of the questions felt like, oh, this I know, this I know, this I know. Many questions in which I had to hesitate, but that was okay. Stuff for everybody. And I kept going and going and going, and the rest is history, I guess.
The rest is history. यार इतना सोचा तूने इतना सोचता नहीं था एग्जाम के लिए.
I know.
जाओ दे दो एग्जाम यार.
No, it's not like that.
Tension थी but रख दो बाद में. And so then that was it. The NEET-PG 2023 was done. What was the reaction after that?
Oh, it was like a deja vu. You know, the same monitor, the same water bottle beside you.
Your center was the same, I think, right?
Yes,
The last
and
day, yeah.
the same admit card. All of that was giving me, you know, chills. It's exactly like the last year. Will I succeed? It went on for like half an hour or so that I was too worried, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. Whatever the rank is, it's okay, it's done. Now it's done. Now I won't look back again.
But उसके बाद वो calls वगैरह start हो जाते हैं, सबके calls आते हैं, like कैसा गया, कैसा हुआ?
I can tell you, I didn't attend a single call that, you know, asked how was the paper. No.
Again, I'm also different here because मैंने खुद ने ही अपने दूसरे friend को call किया. I called Harsh. By the way, उसका भी interview आ रहा है soon, so stay tuned. So I called him and we just discussed. We discussed it at very length.
And you were reviewing questions, I remember, and because of him, I started reviewing. The first subject that I reviewed was PSM, and I remember I got 6 questions wrong out of PSM, and I was like, now I'm not doing anymore.
Panic mode.
It was like, okay, stop right there. हो गया, बस हो गया.
And meanwhile, me and Harsh there were just, you know, discussing ramming questions कि भाई ये गलत हुआ,
And he gave me, you know, a bracket sort of that I might get 130 to 160 questions correct. I mean, what is that?
130, no, 150 around.
Oh, come
Yeah.
on, you were in doubt. Come on,
Yeah.
except so what's the point of reviewing then?
No.
You should just forget about it after the exam.
Please don't make me contemplate that, okay? And so that was about the exam, but then the result came, I think, 1 week later, right?
Oh, yes,
So what
yes.
was your reaction after that?
If I have to honestly tell you, I was sitting on the chair.
So like you opened the monitor and you have your rank in front of you, 1287. How did you feel?
Nothing. Because it was just the GT rank that I was getting in Marrow.
Oh.
So it took me a lot of time to realize that 1200 was not out of 30,000 people but 2 lakh candidates. So yeah, it took me a lot of time. Like so I was out with my friends that day and they told me, oh, it's a good rank, you are getting a good college, come on, be happy. And I was in shock because I was like, it's pretty much a GT rank. What have I done? I haven't done anything big in life.
And उसको पता नहीं होता है what branch है, क्या आगे लेना, कुछ नहीं पता.
Yeah. I was expecting, oh, if I'll get a 100 rank or a 200 rank, then it would mean something. But when I saw my friends' reaction, when the phone calls started pouring in, that's when I realized, okay, I've done something big.
Yeah. And so, like that, the whole NEET-PG journey was finally over, and here we are sitting today.
It doesn't feel like we are doing this, you know, 1 year later, talking about June preparation in the month of June.
So, any other thoughts, any final words?
Well, I'll just say it's not the end of the world. It's not. And just keep going, keep giving GTs. Like GT used to be my favorite activity of all time. You know, I used to hate studying, but I used to love giving GTs because it was such an instant gratification that, oh, you are getting these correct. Keep talking to your friends, the close ones, please. The ones who push you forward. They tell you what are they going through. Keep talking to your family. The other ones will support you the most till the end. Give yourself happy vibes. Listen to music, dance, do whatever you want to do. Never stop doing anything that you love. And you won't even realize that the year is done and you have aced the exam.
Oh, wow, that was such a philosophical, such a good way of saying it.
I have lived that philosophy.
And it worked for you, evidently.
Yes.
So I think that's it for this particular interview. Thank you so much for taking out the time for this.
Thank you so much for interviewing me.
Oh, it was a pleasure. But I know that talking about the exam after it's done, like so long after it's over, it's a little boring.
Talked about this in July, August 2022.
Right.
At a year later, we'll be interviewing. We'll get such a great ranks. It still feels like a dream.
Yeah, it would help everyone, so I thought that I should do this.
You are doing an amazing job, and I hope your channel helps a lot of students.
Oh, I really hope the same.
Thank you for calling me.
So that's it for this particular interview, but more interviews are lined up, so stay tuned for them, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
I scored a rank of 1, 2,
7.
I recently अचीवेबल को,
Achievable
रियलिटी टाइम टेबल को,
reality oriented.
नहीं ना, रियलिटी ओरिएंटेड नहीं, कुछ और है, रियलिस्टिक.
ठीक है.
So now I don't even remember my favorite subject. Oh my god. नहीं अच्छे, ये तो मैं खुद से बात कर रही हूँ. कौन से सब्जेक्ट में आते थे मेरे अच्छे यार.